Everyone. Welcome to our Regional Public Transport Plan hearings. Fantastic to have the panel in the room, and Liz Stolwick might be joining online, so that's fantastic. Right, we've got quite a full day ahead of us, so let's get the formalities out of the way. Right, we've got some apologies to accept. So Angus be in and out, and Jess be absent. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Eugene. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Angela. All right, all those in favour? Against? Carried. All right, now we move to the agenda. You can see on the screen what we're looking at. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Dennis. And Rodney, would you like to second? Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried. All right, are there any disclosures of interest? No. Right, we'll move on. And we will receive the report. I'm happy to move that one. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Dennis. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. All right. Now we move to the submissions. Okay. Fantastic. All right, our first submitter, we have got Mr. Steve Tritt. Welcome. So Steve, I'll just run you through. You've got five minutes. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to submit. Yeah, we look forward to hearing you. You've got 5 minutes. After 4 minutes, I'll ring one bell, and that means you've got 1 minute left. And then at 5 minutes, we'll do 2 bells, and that will be your submission over with. If you can just remember to leave time for questions as well, that'd be fantastic.
Morena, councillors. I believe I'm the first to present on perhaps a very long day for you, but I have just 4 slides, and I would like to encourage further thought on the future of rail. So my submission addresses primarily questions 17 and 18 on future of rail, and it will always be challenging to extend the reach of passenger rail. So next slide. So first, let me congratulate all those involved in the continuing development of Te Huia. I was involved about 7 years ago in the first attempt, and our train got as far as the station that Te Huia now stops at, just short of Britomart. My next slide is some alternative thinking on the location of a passenger rail platform in the CBD. I developed the idea for a passenger platform on Ward Street next to Seddon Park in 2011, when there was discussion around charter trains to Hamilton for the Rugby World Cup matches. You can see the graphic showing a platform in the space that's now fenced off by Kiwi Rail, and my assessment at the time was there was enough room for open air passenger platform. Fortunately, it's only a single rail track there, but there's the concept. So if the underground CBD station doesn't work out, then that's another option, or there may be similar options like that. My next slide is an encouragement to think of train configurations. In my submission, I talked about autonomous small trains plying the southern main trunk line south of Hamilton, serving Te Awamutu, Otrahonga and Te Kuiti. Also Te Huia could also start its morning journeys south of Hamilton, picking up the kind of southern hinterland that works in the Hamilton labour market. Finally, my final slide is a rail graphic I presented to Hamilton City Council in 2004 about the future of Waikato passenger transport. Now, obviously, on that graphic, you would not want to stop at all the stations, but it was an attempt to show what was possible on the main trunk and eastern main trunk line, as well as the river in terms of transport. I was pleased when the graphic was taken up by one of the mayoral candidates soon after I presented it, and then the Greens candidate picked it up for the general election. So it was well used. Apologies for some of the geographic challenges on the names of the stations. So finally, I would just like to invite you all to think about the long-term possibilities that might not even seem practical at this time. Future of rail is really important, probably for the main trunk stations. There are others. The eastern side of the district is now well served with the expressway. So good luck with your deliberations, and I hope to see some positive things. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any questions? Just 1 minute to go. Councillor Teague.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. I'm just interested in the autonomous train. You mentioned it. Can you point to an example where this is actually happening, Ossie?
No, I can't. Autonomous vehicles have been trialled at places like airports on a kind of a minibus type route. We're a little ways away from committing to driverless trains, but the concept of a small commuter train shuttling the southern towns is not beyond the realms of possibility. The network is electrified, so it could even be an electric train.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eugene.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thanks for the presentation. It was an interesting read, and good to see you coming up with some ideas and that. And so it's just more of a comment is that with the, not so much the autonomous, but battery locomotives or carriages is where I know there's a lot of thought being put into the north around how we can extend the A18 network down into Tuakau and Hokonui and stuff like that in the future, as well as enhancing the Tahuia service in that north end. So something that we could really sort of look at as the rail, interregional rail grows, is to work in the south too. So, but yeah, just more of a comment, and thank you for the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve, for taking the time to come in and talk to us. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you for your ideas and your submission as well. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, next up we have Raymond Mudford. Welcome, Raymond.
Very much.
So again, you've got 5 minutes. If you'd like to leave time at the end for some questions, that'd be nice.
I guess this is a very complex subject.
Sorry, Raymond, just before you start, are you able to pull the microphone just a little bit closer?
Closer? Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Is that right?
Yep. Yes.
I guess we all agree this is a very complex subject. Very diverse. Many people have varying views as to what an outcome would be as far as transport's concerned. Interestingly enough, we're seeing a bit of press from the Minister on this subject as well, suggesting that things aren't quite as right as they should be. So the words I have written down today is that several of us have reviewed the plan, and the only phrase we can describe it is, "Oh no, not again." We're tired of hearing lobby groups demanding exclusive outcomes, often being paid by someone else. We also reject the idea of one transport mode derailing another transport mode. We demand integration and innovative thinking. I did an OIA on the cost of this particular exercise, and what that told us was that $68,000 was paid to staff, about $3,000 of consulting costs, $164,000 of overheads. With a disproportionate spend on overheads, one must ask the question how the word bold became the driver for the plan. Maybe it came spinning out of the hat in place of the rabbit. But certainly bold the plan is, and one might even use the word brazen. And why is that? There's no costs or income time frame. We've got no idea what the impact is. No appearance of no innovation or future consideration for park and ride. No innovation removing the helicopter parents from delivering one child to school. No transport demand figures from potential customers, no risk analysis, and importantly, no contractual commitment from Hamilton City Council, who seems to be focused more on speed bumps than fixing the problem. There's no engagement from plan inception or commitment from the community to this plan. Therefore, I suggest to you the plan will fail. No recognition of the cavalcade of empty buses and provision of services to drunks, wasting ratepayer money. No acknowledgement that school transport support is a major winner in relieving congestion and, more importantly, providing safe transport corridors for school children. No acknowledgement that transport companies have failed to provide basic, reliable services to school children. In fact, one of the war stories I have is my granddaughter was left stranded at school after the bus failed to turn up. And when they inquired about where the bus was, no one answered the phone. Therefore, she walked home, which was the only option left for her. Waiting an hour for a bus in the city is unacceptable. We need community, round the table discussion. Now, it includes the provision of high volume, regular, reliable services. The low volume pickup service in the suburbs that connects with the high volume network. Having lived in Hong Kong and seeing how it works, I know we can do it. We also need a transport solution that eliminates the need for helicopter parents and provides a safe all-weather solution for school children and those working daily.
1 minute to go.
Done.
Oh, do you have anything further? Or?
It's all yours.
Right. Any questions for Councillor O'Leary?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Ray, for your submission. You just touched on the fact that the plan has no provision for school travel and school transport. I think your words were stopping the parents from dropping off kids at the gate. I was just wondering, are you aware that in the plan that we put out for consultation, it does talk about school transport and school travel plans, and HCC has just funded some trial school travel plans, and that will fit under this
I saw that in the media this week.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. So are you aware of that it actually is in this plan?
I guess it's about the implementation. I mean, it's fine talking about these things, but at the end of the day, it's how it's actually implemented. That's the truth of the solution.
So this plan is about, that's why it's called a plan, it is about implementing. And the actions and the outcomes and the vision are in this plan.
I understand that, but again, the issue is there's no cost associated with it. So we've got no idea where the funding base is, whether it's going to be a ratepayer funded solution or a region-wise funded or a taxpayer funded solution. We don't know.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Raymond, for your submission. Yeah, we appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
And all the best.
Thank you. Right, Pamela, is it? Yes, welcome. Thank you for coming in today to talk to us.
I took the bus.
Fantastic.
I don't have a choice. I'm sorry. I don't know where that is. I'm sorry. I live in Carrington Avenue in Hillcrest. My thing is that last year this was in the mailbox, and it's got this map showing the new bus route, which is going to go from Nevada Avenue to somewhere in Frankton directly. And so what it showed was the western part where I live is about the same as what it is. And then there's this really small map that shows it misses out my neighborhood completely. And what happened was I sent an email and said, oh, how about this? And they said, well, there's roadworks in Ruakura Road. We can't have this route until after the roadworks are finished. And so I thought, okay, but we've and they said we're still working out the route. And so then after a while, I sent another email, and it was like, okay, it's a done deal. We're having this route, and suck it up, or else. So what it shows, and these pamphlets were available in the transport centre, and at the time that I was sending emails asking about the new route, and so it's already decided. So that meant that the emails that I'd sent beforehand complaining about, hey, wait a minute, you're missing out my neighbourhood, were completely ignored. So in my neighbourhood on Carrington Road, this is what you have. The 1960s houses that were built there are being taken away or demolished, and these are being put up in their place. And so it means that it's a high density area, but the people were going to have to walk a long way to the nearest bus stop, because there's 3 bus stops that are going to be removed in my neighbourhood. It doesn't show on this, and it doesn't show on this, that 3 bus stops are going to be removed. If you have a look here in Hamilton East, it's got X's where the bus stops in Hamilton East and in Frankton are going to be removed, but there were no X's here. So I do feel that the bus company was a little bit deceptive in not putting X's where they're going to remove the bus stops here. And I did say that, and they did send me an email saying that they'd listened to my complaints, but their decision is final. And so that's why I'm absolutely delighted that I can come here and tell my story to you, because I would be very, very unhappy if they removed the 3 bus stops from my neighbourhood. It would mean a much longer walk for myself and for my neighbours to go to the nearest bus stop. Okay, and that's it. So that's about that. The other thing is about Te Huia. Now, the thing is, I've taken it to Huia. It's been great. It's a beautiful train. And so I've taken the bus into town, and then another bus, the Bremworth bus, out a little bit, and there's a bus stop on Queen's Avenue. But the thing is, the nearest bus stop to the Frankton station, it's a long way. And I had heavy bags. It was a hot day. It was a real struggle to get from the bus stop, which is not near the station, to Frankton station. So I said this, I've sent 9 emails in total, I've got copies of them here, to bus it. And they said, well, you can take the orbiter to the Rotakari station. And I looked at the map and thought about, it's such a long way, because I'd have to take the current Silverdale bus to Clyde Street, then take the orbiter and go all the way around to past the base, and it would take a lot longer for me to get to the Rotakari station. So that would be a real hassle. So what I'm asking is, can there please be a bus that goes from the transport centre to Frankton Station? Another thing that the gentleman who came on first, he said that the train now goes to Britomart. It doesn't. It goes to the Strand. And so I got off at the Strand. I had my heavy bags. Where do I go? And so there was a Tahuia staff that I'd seen on the train, on the platform, and I said, oh, where's the information counter? There isn't one. Well, I want to take a bus to go to my friend's place in Auckland. And he said, you can take a taxi. I said, I can't afford a taxi. And so I walked, he said, the bus stop's over there. So I went round through the car park, carrying my heavy bags, through down this, over a really busy road, no bus stop. So he gave me the incorrect information. He told me it was an 8-minute walk to Britomart. I looked on Google Maps. It's an 18-minute walk to Britomart. Anyway, I got there. Okay, that's it. I have to stop now, don't I? Okay.
Thank you, Pamela.
All right.
We appreciate you coming in, and we've got your written submission as well. So
Great. Okay.
Thank
so
you
know
for your
my
points
story.
that you've raised as well. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to
Thank
act
you.
on it. That's great, because the buses are great when they're local. And I read your thing about ridership. I mean, they've really gone for ridership, but really inconvenient for my high density neighbourhood. Okay, thank you. I'll shut up now.
Thank you. Right. I believe that we have our next submitter online, Professor David Menkes. Can you hear us okay, Professor David?
Yes, I can. Good
Oh,
morning.
fantastic. We can hear you as well. You've got 5 minutes for your submission. If you'd like to leave time for questions towards the end, that would be helpful.
Yes.
Over to you.
Okay, I'm just aiming to share my screen. I believe you can see that now.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just switch it to slideshow, which I think will help. Okay. There. I trust you can see that.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I thought a health perspective was really important to bring into this discussion, hence my submission. I'm a medical academic working for the University of Auckland, but based here in Hamilton. So just briefly, as an overview, a good acronym for all the issues that tie this position together is the useful acronym of railroads. And you can see there the items or topics highlighted in green are the ones that I wanted to focus on particularly today, given the limited time. I guess we're starting with the assumption that single occupant car use is problematic in cities, particularly for a number of reasons. Here are some of them. And what we really need to do to improve not just transport systems, but also human health is to address these head on. Another aspect, of course, is that, Hamilton joins the rest of the world in this regard, that we've got trouble with congestion and also the experience here locally as well as internationally that building more roads doesn't actually solve the problem. In fact, it may aggravate it. And so really, active transport is very much going to be one of the solutions for a number of related problems. Congestion, obviously, one of them, but also our obligation to address the climate crisis, and I guess more close to home, the issues with health and productivity. There was a paper that I believe was circulated with my submission. It's a pretty big one, and I imagine that some people have at least had a glance at it. Certainly worth referring to. It was done 14 years ago, but much of the data and analysis in there are still relevant, and so I would commend that. One of the authors is now an MP. You might have noticed that. And here is just a summary of their results, which basically show that right across health domains, active transport is associated with reductions in mortality. It's remarkable, really, that from cardiovascular disease, that's CVD on the left panel, through a variety of cancers to diabetes and even mental illnesses, all seem to benefit from healthy physical activity. Since then, really a definitive study came out a few years ago from the University of Glasgow in Scotland, and they had a sample of over 250,000 of UK subjects in that study. So really the biggest, strongest evidence to date published in the British Medical Journal. And basically reinforcing and extending the findings of that New Zealand study that I showed you earlier. The bottom line, I suppose, is that to get people into active transport, walking and particularly cycling, depends on an attitude shift largely. It's interesting that when countries and regions have promoted cycling and safe cycling, that the uptake has been very satisfying indeed. And I think we would expect to see that here as well. So this is now the international priority, is how to make this more acceptable and attractive. Useful to also reflect on the fact that recent data from New Zealand show that most of us know how to ride a bike, but a regrettable minority of us actually use that transport mode. So I think we really need to address the twin priorities of actual safety and perceived safety for use of bikes in town. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions from the panel?
Yep, thank you. Thank you for your presentation, David. Just a comment. I know Hamilton City have been doing a lot of work in regard to walking and cycling, so commend them for that. And also out in the districts, I'm speaking, say, for Waikato district, is that going through some of our, or refreshing our structure plans, that our communities are telling us exactly that as well. Connectivity through walking and cycling, which, you know, can bring us right into the city. So yeah, I commend you for your presentation, and there's plenty of reading in there, and very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you for Professor David for making the time to submit and to talk to us today. Yeah, I think, yeah, and thanks for including that paper in your submission as well. That will make for a very, yeah, more detailed reading. But yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks.
All right, our next presenter is meant to be online, however, she is not. So we might skip to the next presenter from GoEco, Kelly Pike, if you want to come on through. Welcome, Kelly.
Kia ora.
So you'll have 10 minutes for your presentation. So if you want to save some time at the end for some questions, that'd be helpful.
Or maybe not. So I'm here. You would normally have Simon Gascoigne, our transport lead, here, but he couldn't make it today. So you have me instead. He mihi nui ki a koutou katoa. He mihi tuatahi ki na atua nui I na wā katoa. Ko papatuanuku ke raro, ko ranganui ke runga. Me rawa tamariki ke wanganui, tēnā koutou. He mihi nui ki na mana whenua o tēnei rohi. Ngāti wairere, ngāti hawa, ngāti mahanga, ngāti koreki, ka hokura, ngāti tūmanu pō. He mihi nui ki te rangatira o tēnei rohi ki ngi te heitia. No mā haere mai ki a koutou I tēnei hui. Ko Kelly Pike tōku ingoa. Ke GoEco ahau I mahi ana. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Can I take the mask off?
Yes,
It's quite hard to breathe when you're already nervous. That's better. Thank you for sharing your vision and draft plan for a regional public transport network. We appreciate the ability to give feedback and want to acknowledge the work taken by your staff to research and write it. Also like to thank Chair Angela Strange for visiting us to talk us through what was involved in the plan as well, a few months back, I think. Today I want to restate our overall support, but ask that you push further and faster truly embodying it being an ambitious and bold plan that centres climate and equity. GoEco Waikato Environment Centre has a vision for healthy environments and thriving communities. Our feedback is given with our organisational values and position statements as guidance. We also tautoko Waikato Tainui's Tai Tumu, Tai Pari, Tai Ao in regards to transportation infrastructure being developed and managed in a manner that provides for social, cultural, spiritual, economic and environmental needs. We remind this Council that all transport infrastructure decisions must consider the history of systemic confiscation in the name of the Public Works Act and the impact of infrastructure such as roading on water and the environment. Our position is that, due to serious issues surrounding climate change, low carbon transport options should be a top priority in regional planning, moving away from individual car ownership to an efficient, modern and resilient transport system available and accessible for all members in our community. I would like to take this opportunity to repeat that clear expectation to candidates in this year's local election, as well as currently elected members, that we support co-governance arrangements and the resourcing of hapu and iwi aspirations as an issue of climate justice. If we are truly going to be ambitious in the 10 to 30-year plan, we would go further faster. The time for stalling until the right time has passed. We are in a climate crisis and nothing short of transformational change is going to prepare us for the changes ahead. As both kaitiaki and leaders in our own spaces, we have a responsibility to always do more. Ambitious would be things like ensuring we have more than one daily return trip to and from a regional town. Ambitious would be increasing services, not decreasing them. Reducing bus services for long-term reliability is contradictory to the evidence we've seen in cities around the world who are improving their public transport systems. We ask you to reconsider in the plan frequency of services. We need regular services to meet the often complex needs of our people, considering families who travel together and the ability for people with mobility issues to be able to access all services and navigate transfers. Last week, our team took Te Huia to Tamaki Makaurau, for the most part enjoying the trip. But can I suggest that you change the voiceovers to Te Reo then English? It will help people who have sensory issues. Camille's voice is quite jarring and abrupt, and it's a little bit, it's difficult if you have a sensory issue in that sense. However, with that train being early in the morning or late at night, being dark at both ends, we all relied on private vehicles for the first or last mile of that journey. And as good transport planning would get people where they need to go, starting from their homes. And the key we see is it being multimodal. It includes being able to take your bike on any bus or train in our system. This includes ensuring people with mobility issues have assistance if needed for those transfers, and it includes the trip being free or affordable too. We believe that in the not too distant future, interregional rail will be built back up, something like what was, and hope to see this council take a proactive leadership approach to Parliament's inquiry into the future of interregional passenger rail. Imagine it the way it once was. If we look to our not too distant past, Frankton here in Kirikiriroa was a hub for train services because of our prime location. In fact, in 1910, there were 80 trains arriving every day. Think about how different that would be for our public spaces, which have so far been inundated with roads. It has been done and can be done again. One of the few things from that era we should bring back. This plan, though ambitious, still assumes the private vehicle is the status quo or default modality. Not everyone has, can, or wants to drive a private vehicle. Fewer people will have or want to in the future. The life we're living now won't look the same in 10, 20, 30 years. I know my daughter Ella, who is 10 at the moment, will never drive 3 kilometres into a city to pay to park a car in a car park on prime Waikato land. It really is absurd, but we're all doing it. We tautoko your target of being carbon negative, but we do want to see more information about what offsetting might look like. If there is agreement to participate in a trading or offset scheme, we advocate for the mitigation and other benefits to be paid to hapu as a means of honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi, acknowledging that hapu never ceded sovereignty, and building the capacity and capability of whānau and hapu as kaitiaki o rohi. In every city I've personally lived in, from Perth, Australia to London and in Auckland, I quite happily took public transport everywhere as the first choice. But living here in Kirikiriroa, not so much. We recognise that to be considered successful, we need to have a big culture shift and normalise taking the bus. Our normalisation of driving short distances, despite its disproportionate release of emissions, is a result of decades of prioritising individual convenience over collective good. It will take time to change it. So how do you change culture to increase ridership? Well, I'm not the transport person, and I Googled it, and there were no definitive answers. They focus on increased coverage, frequency, reliability, and cost. So what more can I say? Well, we can work on the stigma of riding buses, normalise it, make it a better experience. But what if we actually enjoyed our commute to work? What if we reduced the road toll? What if we had cleaner air? The possibilities. Perhaps we just need to get more creative. In 2014, the Metropolis government in Seoul decorated their buses with animated characters, which resulted in a statistically significant increase in ridership. Yes, we need education campaigns. Yes, we need leadership. But let's also think outside the box and take advantage of our position as a region with passionate environmentalists and a huge creative community. One last thing. We were pleased to hear Transport Minister Michael Wood's announcement of a sustainable public transport framework yesterday. When we think of the challenges we've had over the years to ensure bus drivers were paid a living wage, one that has seen me speak to you at least 3 times over the years, a model that isn't a race to the bottom can only be a good thing for environmental and social outcomes. We look forward to how those changes may impact again on the regional public transport system you build for our region. We support your plan, but we do encourage you to go further faster. We're climate activists after all. In the short term, that looks like increasing services, not reducing them. In the longer term, and from now, we'll look at changing behaviours and habits to realise the vision that we all have here, which is for a low carbon transport system with equity and climate at its heart. Thank you for your time today. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Thank you, Kelly,
Thanks.
for your submission. Very detailed and comprehensive and easy listening as well. So thank you.
Don't do technicality.
Yeah, you raised some really, really good points. And I see we've got some questions, so we'll go to them. Councillor O'Leary.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Kelly. As always, it's lovely to see you. Just 2 questions on your submission. You touched on them today as well as in your written here. The first one is on the provision to carry bikes on Te Huia. There's several submissions that mention that. I'm assuming that's storing the number of bikes that are able to be stored on the train?
I don't remember how many, like I said, I'm not good with numbers and details. I just know that it's not enough for the number of seats on the bus. And one of the things, I mean, we're based in Frankton. One of the things we'd love to see is people using Te Huia to get down, and they need a bike once they get here. The key is multimodal. We're not going to take one mode of transport to get anywhere. It means 2 or 3, 2 or 3 choices.
Okay. And then the second thing you touched on, you said, just quickly, you said when you're boarding and I'm assuming when you're boarding and disembarking at both ends, I'm assuming Hamilton and Auckland, that it's dark?
Oh, no, sorry. So that means when you get on Te Huia, it's dark in the morning. When you get home, it's dark and it's creepy at Frankton Station.
So this is the Frankton Station you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
No,
Both the Cody's a different
so,
kettle.
but I thought I'd check with you.
But
Thank
Frankton
you.
is very creepy.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for your questions. Councillor Teague.
And thanks for your submission. I don't think you mentioned it in your oral part, but in your written one, you made several references to frequency of connections between regional towns. You thought only once a day was sufficient. Can you give us some idea of what you would believe would be a reasonable sort of frequency in that scenario?
I wouldn't have a specific number, but when I think about, for example, Te Huia, the more services that you can provide, the more people that it's going to suit. Not everybody can get up onto Te Huia to go to Tamaki Makaurau. If you have kids that need to get to school, so for example, you're going up for work, you have to wait till they're at school. That's why you need more services, just so that it can meet the needs of more people for whatever it is that they want to travel for.
Excellent. I can see no further questions. Yeah, once again,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Kelly, for making the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you. Right. There's no further submitters, so we can have morning tea early and come back at 10:40 for a 10:45 restart. Thank you.